Hi everyone, I'm Ellie Sutton.
And I'm Lillian Clark. Right now we're going to talk about the first article, which is the impact of discrimination on the early schooling experiences of children from immigrant families, and it's by Jennifer Adair.
First we're going to start off with a summary. One thing that I thought was neat about this article was just the concentration on kind of what is going wrong with multilingual learners, and just really the educators are trying to learn what they can do to fix it and what is going wrong. And so anyways, one of the parts that they talked about was the narrow learning experiences that the students are getting, whether it's in projects or assignments, and a lot of the time this is because of the low expectations that they are placed upon these children, thinking that they can't do so much, or just because they don't know the same amount of English as a native English speaker, they need things dumbed down rather than simplified and or having tools in their respective languages. Another thing that was interesting about this was the devaluation of home languages, and that was something that was kind of sad, as they explained that a child would use the word, I think chancla or something like that, for sandals, and the teacher almost shamed it rather than building upon the word and using it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, that is really sad. Something that I really liked or thought was interesting is just how important those first years of school and the experiences that they have there is in setting up the child's, I guess, identity as a learner, and that sets the trajectory for their entire education and their entire lives. So it talked about how if a child comes into the school and they have a bad experience where they're facing discrimination, or they don't have good resources, and they're seen as being like weak or deficient in all of the learning areas, then they develop that kind of identity as being not a good learner, being behind, or being, I don't know, just like without all of the advantages that the other students have. So they really infuse that into their identity, and it affects the way that they learn throughout their entire lives. But on the reverse side, when students do have good resources, when they have teachers who are understanding, and their ability to speak more than one language is seen as an advantage and a good thing that they need to develop, they develop kind of the opposite sense of identity, and they think, wow, I'm good at this, I have something to offer the world, and they can, I guess, see that strength and be valued in the classroom. So I thought that was really interesting. I also, like, while reading the study, I thought it was really sad how many obstacles these kids face. So it talked about discrimination, it talked about being separated from their peers in these ESL programs, and having teachers that were not qualified, and not having really awesome, I guess, resources to help and aid in their learning. And then the last thing that I noticed was the importance of parents in the learning process, and that the parents can be a really strong help and aid in the classroom and in their education.
Okay, now we're moving on to the praxis portion of this, and I felt like there were many things that we could learn from and apply into our classroom. One of the things that I really want to focus on is just having a really good parent-to-teacher relationship. I thought it was interesting in the article how they talked about how many parents didn't feel maybe as equal or as qualified or kind of on the same level as a lot of the parents, and so I wanted to just include in my classroom just that open communication, as well as let the parents know that they have a lot of say in what they want their students to know and what they want their students to be able to learn. And any other opinions or desires that they have, it really is just an opportunity to work with the parents and to work with the students. And it's so neat to see like everyone's background information coming together as well, and background experiences or past experiences as well, so that we can really learn and grow from one another. And so just establishing that relationship with our parents.
Yeah. What I want to do in my classroom is just, as a teacher, have a really positive mindset about who my students are and their identities as learners, so that they can, I guess, feel that I have confidence from them or for them, so that they can be confident in themselves. And I'm going to do that by making sure that their culture is represented in the classroom in a positive light. So whether that means reading books, I can speak Spanish, so maybe I can read some books in Spanish, or I could do videos of books being read in different languages, or maybe, show and tells where they can share parts of their culture. I think that would help them to feel valued and like they are an asset and their unique abilities are a strength rather than a weakness. And then I also want to make sure that I don't fall into that trap of being like so stressed about testing scores that I'm solely only focusing on rote learning and just getting them to complete the task. And instead I can focus on like really enriching learning experiences, where everyone gets to participate and be part of the classroom, so that I guess they can take those things that they learn and be engaged in it and find joy in learning and become lifelong learners instead of just rushing to get to the next test and then moving on to do something else.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks. Okay, now we're moving on to the reflection part of the assignment. One of the things that I really loved about this article was just how it is very eye-opening and stating all the different ways that our multilingual learners were having these challenges or how they're facing discrimination and hardships. And I think it's really important as teachers to be aware of everything that they're facing, especially if we aren't in those circumstances ourselves as well. We would never know if we don't take a walk in their shoes as well. But one thing I would have liked to see is a little bit more of the things that have gone well or things that could be implemented in our classroom rather than like all the negative things, just so that not only can we learn from the things that are going bad, but we also have some instructions and things that we could put in place for our students to just start making an impact on those who are experiencing these hardships.
Yeah, I agree. I also felt really sad reading this article because I didn't previously realize how many obstacles there were or what those obstacles were. I knew it was hard for our English learners, but I didn't know exactly why or how hard those obstacles would be to overcome. So yeah, reading this article kind of made me sad. It made me want to help them, but also feel kind of overwhelmed because I'm not sure exactly how I can make a big positive difference, because I can't affect the resources that we have or the programs that are available to these kids. All I can do is make sure that, I guess, my lessons are a positive experience for them and try to include them as much as I can.